Hi everybody! So we are doing a review and analysis of Begins Youth. This is part of a larger series where I will be discussing the Bangtan Universe. But I'm doing Begins Youth first because that is the most recent. It's also going to explain a lot when we go back and analyze the other music videos and stuff. Okay, but first, my disclaimer, if you do not want any kind of spoiler, this is not for you. I will be discussing a lot of the details in the story. So if you don't want to know anything or just whatever, don't watch, okay? Second, I am not claiming that I am right. This is just my own observation. Your own is always welcome. Please share with us if there's anything that you think I should also know about. If there's any addition, any correction, I welcome it. Okay. If you ended up liking this video, please give it a thumbs up. Of course, subscribe and hit that notification button and share the video if you can. On to the video. They gave us reasons to love them together as seven. This series is very much character-driven, as I've discussed in the first video. The group has no common objective. In the first and second episodes, however, they gave us all the reasons to love each character, both as individuals and as seven. That's exactly the objective of the storytellers. They wanted you, or us, to love the characters. This is a trick or a formula or a strategy that we used when we develop movies. We connect the characters first before we disconnect. The audience is first given the reasons or shown the reasons why certain characters are good or certain relationships work well together. Once you love or like the characters or the relationships, that's when we break your heart by disconnecting them. In the first two episodes, that was the main objective. They wanted us, the audience, to root for the seven characters. They established just how wrong the world is for these seven. Dysfunctional families, dysfunctional society. But somehow, when they are together as seven, it works. The main point of view or POV is one. There are multiple POVs, but essentially the main one is one, the eldest. The story even started when he came into the life of these six other boys. This would, of course, make much more sense later in the series as we understand what really is happening, especially with the seemingly unconnected opening scenes in every episode that involves each of the characters in some kind of a fire. Blurring of the past and the present. Any army would know by now that time travel seems to be a big theme in the Most Beautiful Moment in Life series, but in Begins Youth, the idea of time, the idea of memories, and remembering all seem blurred and mixed together. All of their angst are coming from the past that won't separate from them. Somehow, their past simply live with them in their present. Haru, for example, couldn't escape what happened to him when he was young, that even when he was ready to confront it, he realized that it was surrounding him all this time. People continue to damage the memory of Sayan's mother. Dogon keeps on getting held back by his own family's past. All of them have a past that stays with them. All of them also have some issues with their memories, inaccuracies of the past or downright blackout. Juan can't remember much about his mother. Jeha doesn't even mention his past. Hosu is struggling to remember anything else about his mother. He can't even remember her face. The blurring of the past and the present. And it's nothing short of a genius for them to make the past more than just a plot point, but also a character nuance, strengthening the narrative and the emotional hook and the theme of each character. Juan and Dogon. In the first two episodes, we see the strength of the different pairings and how similar and complementary they are of each other. Dogon and Juan, for example, would have been perfect as brothers. They have a lot in common, but they also have enough differences to share a different world with each other. Juan longs for connection, and Dogon longs for a connection where he wouldn't have to take the lead as he does with everyone else and everything else. He found that in Juan. That's why it was so easy for him to say yes when Juan invited him to have dinner, and immediately allowing Juan to come to his aid when he destroyed the doorknob. And in episode 2, it happened again. Juan asked Dogon how Dogon could feel better, and Dogon was more than happy to tell him how. And Juan was more than happy to oblige. Juan is sheltered, being served hand and foot, and he finally meets somebody who allows him to take the lead. Hosu and Haru's relationship is probably the most interesting because Hosu is constantly trying to build a rose-colored dome around the group, and Haru is more than happy to stay inside that dome. That's why they work together so easily, because both are aware they're not in a real world, but neither is complaining. Somehow, Haru also found more comfort in Hosu when he learned about Hosu living in an orphanage. Like he wasn't the worst in the group. Finally, someone has it worse. So, Haru gravitated more towards Hosu after learning of Hosu's narcolepsy, which made it even more painful when it was Hosu who started pulling away. Sein and Jeha. Jeha is the crazy to Sein's indifference, from drawing on his nails to clinging to Sein like a koala. Sein finds a reason to go on with Jeha. The boy just needs him, plain and simple. This is in fact our first clue on how Sein's mind works. He doesn't have an appetite for life, but he does have an appetite for people. And if people need him, he goes on. This leads me to my next point. Sein is what the world needs him to be. He is the older brother Jeha never had. He lets Jeha do whatever it is that he wants to do, and Jeha takes full advantage of it. When they were having conflict with Juan's missing bike, it was Sein who found it and recovered it and didn't even bother showing himself to the people involved after he got the bike back. He fills in missing roles, but it cuts both ways. He can also be the evil the world wants him to be. When the kid who actually stole the bike they were looking for told his friend that it was Sein who killed his own mother, Sein simply played the role. He didn't bother putting up a fight. He did the same thing with the principal. When the principal told him that the kid said that he was carrying a knife, he didn't correct the principal. He did the same thing with the disciplinarian who keeps on calling him a messed up kid. He just continues messing up, never making an effort to be seen better. That attitude will also become his downfall later on in the series. Small details speak volumes. It's really the small things that are actually the big things in the series. There are so many details that could subliminally communicate certain things about the characters to us, the audience. The constantly wrinkled shirt of Dogon is one. I don't think he ever showed up to anything with an ironed shirt. He is ranked number 1 in the school but goes out looking like 1,000 elephants rolled over his shirt. Haru, on the other hand, is always so put together. Even when he ended up in the hospital with Hosu, with blood all over him, everything else was perfectly in place. Like he is constantly trying to present perfection to the world. It isn't just their clothing or hair, but also the small details in their action. The scene where Dogon and JUAN was trying to explain to everyone the situation about the bike, you can see how different JUAN is with Dogon. That his transition is so instant, it's almost so comical when he turns to talk to Dogon. You can also see just how happy Jeha is just sitting by Sein's side when Sein is napping. Even throughout this series, observe just how there is always a bed waiting for Sein. It seems that there is an understanding within the group that Sein simply loves to sleep, and they're okay with that. When Dogon and Juan connect, the last scene in the first episode with Dogon and Juan is probably the most important in the series. It's so brilliantly directed. Juan had so much disregard for the money that Dogon was looking for in the beginning, because for him a couple of thousands don't really matter, until he saw just how Dogon reacted when he handed Dogon the money. Dogon forgot everything else and was just so relieved to have recovered it. It was a slap in the face. Something that he was ignoring was so important to this guy right in front of him. You can actually see the shame in Juan's face and the disappointment he felt towards himself, not realizing that not everyone has the same capacity and priorities as he does. It also felt like that was the exact moment he decided, or he submitted to the fact that he was going to be the eldest one in the group. The way they framed Juan to look incredibly smaller than Donggun helps in visually representing how he felt when Donggun was almost crying in joy.
They all loved fiercely. Each of the characters would do everything and anything for their friends, and I think that is the best and the worst character that they have. You can see it in JUAN, for example, when he was actually searching for the bike that was stolen. He was searching high and lows. He was going everywhere, just even when he didn't have an actual plan on how to find it, he was just doing everything that he can in order to find the bike of Donggun. Sayin, who didn't have to do anything because he wasn't involved in this entire thing, actually put his life in danger just so he can recover the bike for Donggun. We saw it in Jeha when he offered the savings that he had just so he can buy a gift for Sayin. All of those things you can see. Oh, and even with Haru, when he called his mom, when there was an accident involving Hosu, he called his mom just so he can make sure that Hosu is going to be okay. You can see them throwing themselves into anything and everything for as long as they know it is for their friend. And this is, I think, the whole point. If there is one anchor in their characters, in each of their characters, it would be that all of them, each of them, love so fiercely. The problem is that they don't always know how to show it or to go about it, but they love fiercely. The series is great even, but definitely not perfect. There are certainly some things that I wish they added or they improved. One of which is the background of the friendship of the six before Juan came in, because when Juan came into their lives, they were already friends. But I kind of don't know how it started. They don't have to go through the history, but there has to be some sort of an explanation. This is something crucial when you're trying to establish a relationship, the history, how they met, because that gives the audience a better idea on the fullness of the characters. And the friendship itself is actually an eighth character. The seven of them together is the eighth character in the entire story. And without enough background, I found myself exerting extra effort in order to attach myself to the friendship. I also would want some more nuances with some of the characters, because some of the characters I felt I understand, for example, for the character of Haru, to make Haru as detached from the audience as possible, and that meant not giving his personality a lot of details. But because there is not a lot of details, I also find it hard to see him as a human being. I felt like for most of the most of the series, he was this enigmatic, mysterious entity in this friendship. But I felt like if they had given him some more details, some more weird details in his character, it would have been easier for me to see him for his whole persona. So, for example, we know that when it comes to Jeha is actually another flat character in terms of details. But like, I could see the nuances, the mannerisms, all the other details in the character of Juan, of Donggun. I was missing that when it came to Haru and Jeha. Yeah, and then I another thing that I just want to note, this is not an improvement, but I just want to note how good the cinematography is, because the cinematography actually talks. The way they played with darkness and light, you know that in one scene they're able to add layer to the storytelling by maximizing the use of lights. When they were inside the hideout and they were trying to clean it, you can see how the light and the dark would play in order to highlight the kind of characters. And so maybe I'll deal with that. I'll talk about that with more detail in the next analysis. Okay, thank you so much. I am trying to finish this series before the release of Muse. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but I'm gonna try. And then there are some more topics that you wanted me to talk about. You wanted me to talk about the Asian Grammys, so I'll do that in the next video. But I do hope to hear your thoughts on this one. I am very excited to see how you're seeing things. If there are some more details that I'm missing, let me know in the comment section. You can always get in touch with me in any of the social media links that you see on your screen right now. And please like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification button so that you don't miss a single video that we upload. And share the video if you can. Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.